Alright, so you guys can see where I'm at right now. I have the VLOM available. I have the rocker off, the intake off, that whole shebang going on here. I have a little bitty wrench here. I'm going to try something since it's live. I have not touched any of these VLOM bolts. What I've been noticing is this thing looks like it was pretty set in its spot, and it doesn't look like it was leaking, but a lot of times that VLOM can cause some really odd concerns. I've heard of people having oil pressure fluctuations, and it's due to the gasket being loose most of the time. Also, a lot of times that's what causes these lifters to fail prematurely. So when it happens at really low miles, it's probably because these bolts are loose. It still gets enough oil pressure to kind of activate the lifter, but it's only kind of, thus it wears out prematurely because those little paws that lock it will lock in the wrong position. So I'm going to go ahead, give this thing a try here, and we'll see how tight it actually is. Okay, that one's plenty tight. That one turns a little bit. Yeah, these are much better. Now usually when they're loose, it's the front ones here. Okay. So this is a oddball. Unfortunately, I was hoping the live would bring me a little fun for you guys. Yeah, they're all pretty much tight. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to pull this VLOM off. Leave a comment letting me know whether you want me to worry about taking the VLOM apart while I'm live or not. I can do that later too. But we're going to go ahead and at very least try and pop the lifter free while it's live. You can see I have the rocker off. This engine is rather dirty. I'm going to be recommending this customer, and if you're watching because you happen to be one of my subscribers, I'm going to be recommending that the perfect time to do that. Let's go ahead and get this VLOM off of here. Oh, forgot a bolt. No big deal. Thought I got that one, but I guess not. Dripping all the oils everywhere. We're going to go set this in my oil drain pan. Look how dirty that thing is. Okay, so we have several of these full of oil and some of them empty. Now this vehicle has sat overnight, so this is going to kind of give me a little idea. I'm going to also, since it is the number 7 cylinder and it's in the rear, I'm going to inspect the camshaft. And once I release this lifter, I have a new little trick to kind of add to things to try and make sure that it takes on the first try. Now previously I've just been saying it might take more than one try to get it to actually stay. But I think I have a way to make it stay on the first try. Really refine this until this system is perfected, and eventually we'll get it to be even more foolproof of success. Okay, so I'm sliding the tool in there right now. I'm just trying to get rid of all the oil that's in it. Now, if you do ask me any questions at any point, I probably won't answer it till the end because I'm not going to sit and pay attention to what's going on in the chat. I just want to get the work done here. So just keep that in mind. If you do have any questions, you can ask, and I will hopefully answer them at the end here, as long as my live stream don't drop out. My internet here in the boondocks isn't very great. That's why I only stream in 720p. Alright, so to get the oil out, now I'm going to explain why in a minute, but to get the oil out, we're going to use a little brake clean down the hole, which dries out the lube surface area. I understand that, but I'm more concerned about being able to get that lifter free. I just saw the sensor, so that tells me that I have the oil cleaned out of that hole there, for sure now. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look down that hole, and then I'm going to use this to turn the... Just set it down, there it is. Is to make sure that where this tool lands on the lifter is not going to land in a spot that's just offset of the little oil hole in there, because if I land on that little oil hole offset, I may damage the lifter. And that was brought to my attention on the last one that I did, that I damaged it. But of course, I was whacking that one way too hard. So that was because I was testing that brass lifter, if you guys have been seeing my channel or previous videos. So just keep that in mind. That's what I'm doing now. I'm just going to double check that. I'm going to clean this thing out. It's dripping oil all over me. Alright, that's better. Okay, so we'll set this guy right here for now. I have to go get a light. Okay, I certainly cannot see in there very well, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my endoscope and see if I can take a look in there with that. I don't know if my endoscope's small enough. If you guys do end up looking for an endoscope, get a 7mm lens, or 7mm one or smaller. Mine's an 8mm. I wish I would have got the smaller one. I didn't realize it when I bought it. Stay. Alright, looks like I'm still live. Of course, my live stream, looking at the endoscope. I should show you guys what I'm looking at here. So, here's the actual endoscope itself. And there's the screen that I'm looking at. So, the endoscope can move wherever I want it to. But there's that. Let's go ahead and get back here again. So I'm going to try and see if I can see in there, worth a darn. It doesn't fit, but this lens cover is a little bit bigger, so we'll try that. Just enough. I see what looks like maybe a hole. My lens might be dirty. I'm going to try and turn it over once, see if I can see anything. Oop, I need an extension or a different socket here. What I did just there, I was trying to push on the push rod. I want to make sure that the lifter is down in case the cam is in the falling position right below. Being way more than a challenge than I want it to be, but just waiting to see if I see any movement. I think I just heard it move, but I didn't see any movement. So, no, it's still in a certain spot here. Let's try again. I must have just ended the intake stroke. I'm pretty sure that's the intake valve. Yeah, that's the intake valve. God, I should have moved by now. I might not be able to see it. I might just have to give it a shot. Well, it was worth a try. Life lesson here, invest in a better endoscope, I guess. Okay, I'm going to close that window out so that I can see what you guys are commenting. And rammers. Yeah, I'll get to your question in a little bit, hopefully. Let's go ahead and give this guy a shot here. Alright, so I'm making sure the tool is in the low position, that way it's lined up correctly with the lifter. Yep, sure is. Okay. Now I have the push rod in there as an indicator to when the thing releases. I'm going to use my brass hammer, so I'm a little more gentle on it at least. Light tap, a little heavier, a little heavier. Whoa, this one is not letting go. Something is odd here. Oh, it went up a little bit. There it goes. So, there. We just saw the release. Did not require much of a hit. Now I gotta go fetch a push rod. Now I have to clean this push rod before I can show you the little thing I'm gonna attempt to try and make it so it happens on the first try. Okay. Okay, so my theory here, you know, you got the paws, they're not in this one because this is my one to show you guys, but this part is locking up on the inside of the shelf on here. Now if you notice, it's locking up before it even hits the bottom where the spring is, so that'd be the center location of the lifter. So when that thing is in there, it's in the center of the lifter. So my theory here is right now, the lifter is likely like this, okay? Well, there's one of the paws. Just no spring in there. It's likely like this. Now there's a shelf on this side too, so right now these paws are probably collapsed. And that's when people are having a problem with it not taking on the first try, as if these paws don't spread out fast enough to lock it in place before it goes up to the second shelf area. Then it's causing an issue. So what I'm hoping is if in that position, I'm going to take and I'm going to slowly tap and let this thing go down, down, down until it comes to the bottom. And I'm hoping that I'm going to hear a little click. And if I hear a click, then I know those paws have popped out. If I don't hear a click, all of a sudden it just stops going down. I'm going to assume it's in the same situation. So that's what I'm going to try. And then I'm going to go ahead, throw the rocker arm back on, turn the motor over, and see if the rocker properly activates. Oop. I'm going to lose my little lens cover. Where'd my endoscope go? Got to put things away before you lose them. Okay, let's go ahead and give this thing a try. I'm going to use the brass hammer again because it's less likely to cause any damage. Wipe off any of the brass beat off of there with the other tool, because the brass does start to come off, which is not very good. And I always clean out those lifter tools every time, just in case. I'm down a little bit. There, now it stopped. Yeah, it stopped. So I pushed it down with my finger to make sure it was on the cam, and then when I hit it, I felt it go just a little bit, and then I hit it again, and it total dead stop. Sounded like I hit a rock. So I assume that that is now in the locked position and I'm good to go. So I'm going to go ahead, throw the rocker back on there, and we're going to give it a shot by turning the wrench on the crank. Do with my ratchet though. I don't know about you guys, but you spend half the time looking for tools versus doing the work yourselves too. There it is. I don't know why, but I can't remember for the life of me where I set things last. Okay, the lifter definitely is holding something at least. Now I'm not torquing it, but I'm also not tightening it fully because I want to make sure it works first. I went down until it bottomed out, and the valve did go down a little bit, so I believe we are good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over. Now that was the exhaust, so now the intake should open. Yep, there it goes. Look at that. We are freed up. So, I have another one coming in here soon, and when that one comes in, I'm going to try the same thing, and hopefully it works again, and then hopefully when I fire this thing up, it doesn't collapse again right away. So I'm going to try and eliminate another possibility of that by modifying the VLOM, by plugging the hole that is feeding the lifters, and then, you know, basically doing what I did on my last live stream. I'm going to go ahead and do that to this one, and hopefully that'll eliminate any possible problems. So let's see what you guys have on there for comments real quick. Yeg Mechanic says, hey. That was right out of the gate. I don't know what that's about. Before my even welcome to live chat, which I didn't know that was even possible. Anyway, Scott Walter, I am working on one of these. Two, I found the disabler on Amazon. You just have plugged in. Do you have any experience with this? Yes, I do, and I have very informative opinion on it. Hang on a second. I'm gonna make you guys look at me, not the darn vehicle. Perfectly fine. So the disablers. So there's like the range disabler. There's a couple other brands too. The problem with the disabler, the huge problem, is if you actually unplug the VLOM, disable the VLOM, tamper with the VLOM in any way, shape, or form, and you get in that vehicle, even without tampering with the VLOM. Either way, if you tamper with the VLOM, you're going to have issues possibly with the vehicle going into limp mode. I don't know. I have not verified that. I would imagine it would still go into limp mode because it still accepts that it's installed and enabled, but that device, I believe, turns it off by just telling the computer don't enter this mode versus actually disabling the mode while it's plugged in. I don't think it actually actively disables it. It just tells it not to enable. So with that, if you modify anything and leave it unplugged, it's probably going to throw it into limp mode. Otherwise, if you still have it plugged in, you still have it working, the one thing it's great for is people who are still under warranty and still have displacement on demand being used in the respect of mechanically speaking. So you have not messed with anything, you have not hit a lifter to free it up, you have not done any of that. That's a perfectly good reason to use it. You're still under warranty, you don't want to void the warranty, yada yada yada. But if you have done my little lifter trick and you're trying to use that to make it so you can drive your vehicle, I advise against that. The reason being is if you get in your vehicle and you bump that OBD2 adapter with your knee and you knock it off of there, you don't notice, or say you have kids and your kids pull it out of the plug and you don't know about it, you go for a drive, the instant it tries to enter V4 mode, that lifter will lock up again, and then you'll have to take it apart again and it'll be a total pain in your butt. Alright, so please share that tools. You recommend handheld programmers such as Hypertech for disabling the AFM? or do you suggest a custom tune with HP tuners? Which one is the HP tuners, and I know about it. As far as the other handhelds, I would imagine, since they actually tune the vehicle, they also disable it as well, but I have not gone through the process of using one, so I am unclear as to whether they actively permanently disable it in the computer or not, or if they're doing something like the range device is doing and just telling it not to activate while it's plugged in, kind of a thing. Off subject. So my 0753 Avalanche hasn't had this issue yet. Oh, then oil consumption, but I'm getting a spark knock after tune-up and well, other than oil consumption. Well, if you're getting a spark knock, it could be due to several things. I covered that on a previous live stream, and that was a situation of, I believe he might have had carbon buildup happening on the pistons, and so his fuel was detonating, but he also had a performance tune going on. So I'm not sure if your situation is going to be the same or not, but perhaps it is, perhaps it's not. I don't know. There's too many variables to for surely be able to accurately answer that kind of a question. So, alright, I am going to grab that Vlam as long as the live still looks like it's good. I still appear to be streaming, so I'm going to grab that Vlam and we are going to go ahead and look into modifying it real quick. I'm going to pull it apart. Let's go ahead and get started on that. And before I do that, I'm going to clean the thing off with a little brake clean, because it's a mess. I've already noticed something that makes me very glad I'm going to be doing this on the live stream. The other 11, so that Vlam that I have was an 11. That one bolted on. This thing was able to be changed and modified relatively easy. So this one is riveted on, so you'd have to cut the rivets in order to actually remove all this stuff. So I have another way to make sure you take care of this and not have the problem. And show you remove all this stuff. We're going to leave it in place and intact, and then we're going to go ahead and modify it. Now, this one here, I think I'm going to show you how to test, in case you want to just leave it alone and leave it as is. I'm going to show you how to test to make sure these things aren't stuck in a position that's going to cause a problem for you. Let's pull all these bolts out. Okay, so never mind the random mess. I just did a brake job on a Civic, but I'm going to grab a little rubber plug here. Not seeing my larger of the rubber plugs, but this one will work. Okay, so technically these are currently inactive, as in there's no Vlam telling it to turn it into 4-cylinder, or no computer telling it to turn it into 4-cylinder mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy here, and I'm going to hold, so these two ports are going to be tied together. There's a passage that goes between these. I'm going to hold a finger over one, push down on the other one, but not have my finger over it, because I'm going to take this guy and put it in that hole. Okay, now it was blowing out the side here, so this style must release out of the corner right there. Oh yeah, this has a corner here, here, and then over here on that one. So this one's definitely releasing the oil pressure in here. Do the same on this one. Whoop, you see that? Just came spraying out of here. So that one's releasing that oil pressure. Okay, this one just came out of here, so I know that one's good. And this one just came out of this side. So now I have verified that none of these are plugged, so that should not become an issue, and I have no reason to take this apart necessarily. What I'm going to do now is take the screen out and use that same hole where the screen is sitting to plug off the oil passage that feeds this entire system. And that oil passage is right here. Oh, I forgot to take a bolt out. Is right here. So we're going to plug this guy off, and I'll show you how to do that again real quick. I see a few more comments or questions, whatever, have popped up. So I will get to you guys after I'm finished modifying this thing. Alright, so we have you here in the back room, and we are going to take the sensor out first. I don't want to go grab a proper tool. I'm just going to see if I have a... not quite. I guess I have to go get the tool for it. Assuming I can find the darn thing. Had it on my other box where I normally don't keep it because I just used it. I forgot about that. Alright, so this is actually a special socket just for oil pressure senders. It's like a 6-point socket, only it's got these cut-off corners. Kind of a goofy thing. See, I still have all my Vlam pieces laying here from the last one. There's the oil pressure sensor, covered in oil. I'm going to get a rag. Okay, so we need something to push that sensor out with. I'm going to turn this heater off. Hoping you guys aren't getting a bunch of wind noise. Okay, so I just used something to push this guy out. Now, we're going to inspect this thing because if you have low oil pressure, this is a very common reason for the low oil pressure. It gets plugged up, and this guy's motor was quite dirty, so I imagine it's going to be dirty. It's starting to plug up, but it's not totally... So you can see that plugged up section there. It's definitely not looking... focus. There we go. It's definitely not looking the best. And that end is completely plugged. So, this guy's oil pressure light that was probably going to start happening soon is no longer going to be an issue. In fact, you can see the O-ring here. So this is the only spot that would have plugged. This is the spot that goes back into the oil pressure sensor. So this thing might have had oil pressure concerns. I don't know. I'll have to ask them later. So we need to plug this guy up, and I happen to have, from the last one, a leftover to plug it with, laying here somewhere. Here's the pre-modification of the sleeve, of the sleeve that I put in there. Aha. And here is post modification. Now, this one I have to deburr yet. I did not deburr it, and I have it at an angle, but I'll just make sure I put the taller end towards the oil pressure hole. Technically, you would want to cut this a little bit straighter, but I was cutting it live and fast and in a hurry, which I shouldn't have been in a hurry, and now I'm going to slow down, you know. But anyway, I have this fancy little deburring tool here, cutter. And that guy is going back in the motor, so I'm going to move it a little bit of ways. Now you can see the nice chamfer it left on the inside there. And then we have this burr here that I'm going to have to remove, and then I'm going to have to clean my hands from all this little metal and debris. This one had to get, I pounded on it a little bit when I was messing around with the other one, so I'm going to go ahead and sand this down some to clean it up. Here we go with the stray search again. I'll just grab another set. I know I have a set out, whatever. This piece is way hot right now, so I'm going to go in the frozen tundra. Put the snow on the little piece and cool it down. Okay, so there's that. We're going to clean it off a little. Brake clean's wonderful for your hands, by the way, so if you live in California, you realize I already have cancer. Alright. I just set the thing down. Where'd I put it? What? I'm getting my toolbox all covered in oil now. See, this is how it goes for me. I set a tool down and it just disappears. In this case, I set the thing I just made down and it disappears. It's just how things go. This is ridiculous. Alright, taking care of this oil here quick. If you guys know where that thing is, let me know. Maybe you'll tell me before I find it, I don't know. Oh, there it is. Wow, it's right in front of my face. Okay. So I want to try and prevent all the oil from getting on my floor. This floor is not epoxied yet and it's fresh concrete. gonna lay down some cardboard here quick. There we go. Now it'll drip on the cardboard or my toolbox. Whichever one it decides to try and attack first. Alright. Now what I need to do is slide this guy in there with the tall side facing that oil feed because I made it stupid like I did. If you want the measurements for this, see my previous video on building it. I already know this one's it was darn near close. It was just a little bit tighter than the other side of the sleeve, so that's why I sanded it again. Ooh. Gotta find a way to hold this thing up. There we go. Not quite down far enough. This one is not fitting in there as easy as I'd hoped. I should have probably measured it, I guess. Oh, there it goes. There is no question that's going to seal. That is a tight fit. Alright. Now, just in case, there's some kind of little metal shaving in there, I'm going to go ahead and clean this out as best I can. Good thing for the cardboard there. Alright, that thing is ready to put back in place. And the gasket is a little squished, but it's still got some life left in it, so we're gonna let her ride for now and put this vehicle back together. Do you guys want me to stay live so that you can see me do some assembly here, or do you mind if I just log out and let her go? I will answer your questions that you have asked while I'm doing this in just a second before I answer or stay or whatever I decide to do here. But I figured I'd get that question out there. I see one stay live already. Rag. And another stay live. All right, let's turn this camera so you can hear me, see me, whatever. Let's do a quick question answering break here. Ooh, wow, there's a lot. I have to scroll. Where did I leave off? It was the, oh, okay, so that's the continuation of the question that was asked before about the fuel injector and the spark knock concern. It was there, it just hasn't changed, all stock. Okay. Well, the oil consumption is, oh. Wow, felt like I just put oil on my face. The oil consumption situation, which I was just communicating with the guy on as well, it is highly related to the VLOM, the displacement on the man. What happens is the cylinders, as they're coming up and down in the bores, in the standard engine mode where you're firing all cylinders all the time, so your intake stroke, the air is rushing in and you have very little vacuum on those rings. Now, if you're at idle, no throttle, you have vacuum in the intake manifold, then you have a vacuum pulling on those rings. And that is the only time that those rings warp this direction so they can cut the oil off the side of the actually wear with a taper to them. Now, the rest of the strokes, so the compression stroke pushes down on the ring, the extension, so the firing, brain fart. That's the firing stroke, whatever it's called. As it pushes down on the piston, it's pushing down on the rings hard, so they're bending this direction again. Then on the exhaust stroke, it's trying to push the air out, so again, it's pushing down on the rings. What that does is it rings into a taper and creates a scraper effect on the rings. The VLOM cylinders, the displacement on demand cylinders, however, once it's on the displacement on demand mode, both valves are shut. And what this does is it flutters the rings and wears them out in a rounded format. So instead of having a compression, ignition, the four full cycles, now all you have is a cylinder that's going up, pushing down on the rings, and then as it comes down, it pulls up on the rings, and it goes up, and it's just back and forth like this on the ring. And when it goes back and forth like that evenly, instead of wearing a taper, scrapes the oil off of the walls, thus those cylinders end up burning more oil. So my best recommendation for the oil consumption is to turn that system off. If you haven't had the problem yet, that's the perfect opportunity to use one of those range disabler devices. I have links in some of my descriptions on my videos, but not this one obviously because it's still live. To none. The low oil pressure I was just talking about, I don't know if you were tuned in, but it's going to be related to that little screen that I pulled out where the sensor goes on this, which reminds me, I still have the sensor over there. So if you want a view of that sensor, just scroll back in the video a little ways, or not sensor, the screen itself, and you'll see what happens when they get plugged up. And this sensor is right above that, and this is your oil pressure sensor. And that's why you end up with low oil pressure most of the time. It's not actually low oil pressure, it's literally a bad sensor. These motors have the pump design in them is very, very good. And, okay. That stuff is moving. So the pump design in them is very, very good. So it can flow a lot of volume. These are in fact a high volume pump in these motors, specifically because it blows all that excess oil out of this VLOM assembly when it's just sitting there in non-active state. So they need a high volume pump for that. And the pumps in these things are such high volume that even when you have a rod bearing going bad, your oil pressure doesn't necessarily go down. You'll hear it at first start when it's dry, and that's it. And then it'll be quiet and sound like a normal motor, and you won't even know you have a bad rod bearing, at least until it completely spins and completely fails. Then you're kind of screwed, but they will go a long ways before making any kind of noise with excessive bearing clearance because they're such high volume. Silverado, oops. Bumped it. Also have that same, but don't know where shall I start programming or removing the heads. It doesn't matter where you start, just before you start the vehicle, after you're done doing whatever you do, make sure you program it, turn it off, get it done. That was for Nasser El Gamdi. Don't know who that is. But anyway, excuse me, I'm a little under the weather, but work doesn't stop. So, oops, whoa, losing my track here. Alright, if I disable the AFM by tuning, is it enough, or do I have to disable it mechanically? You can just do it by tuning if you don't have any problems currently. What is the right pressure? Well, okay, that filter change it with sensor. You could, if you're not opposed to buying a 60 or whatever dollar sensor. Um, it's definitely a nice thing to do. Now, I do have a recommendation for that on the intake. I still have to remove it on this one, but if you ever remove the intake for any reason, take this guy off. It's literally a little red quick connect. I can't get at it with my finger while holding it. And then unbolt this little bolt here. It's a 10mm nut, not a bolt. And take this plastic guard off. That allows access to that oil pressure sensor. And if you take this off, then who cares if your oil pressure sensor is bad or not and you don't know? Once you put it on, you'll be able to access that thing after you start it. And if you find out the sensor's bad, it's still easy to remove the sensor as long as this plastic guard is out of the way. All this is like some weird noise dampening piece of crap. So, I don't know. The camshaft position sensor, where is its location? On these newer motors, if they have displacement on demand, it will be on the front of the motor. It is behind the water pump. Well, more or less under and behind the water pump. Ooh, this one does not have variable valve timing. Nice. Most of them have variable valve timing. That must be the newer version. 2X. Stay live. Where is its location? Crankshaft. Well, I just answered your question. It looks like somebody was going to try and help you. They mentioned if you meant crankshaft, and just in case you are confused and you mean crankshaft, that is on the passenger side behind the starter of all things on these things. So it's alongside the block and behind the starter. Alright, back to it. I'm going to go ahead and start assembling. Seems like a couple guys wanted me to stay live, so I might as well stay live. Let's go ahead and get this thing in place, but first I have to reposition the camera and clean out the gasket surface. Oh yeah, there is a, you said 2014, so that is going to be the camshaft sensor up front. The really old stuff, pre-variable valve timing, pre-displacement on demand, the cam sensor is actually in the back of the motor. And so here is your VLOM, and it would not have a VLOM, it would just have a valley cover. But the cam position sensor is actually integrated back here behind this plate, and it goes through the block. So that is the real old school stuff though, pre this gibberish that fails way too often. Those are the ones that get crazy high miles on those vehicles. Alright, so we have to clean the surface up. I see a couple small pieces of debris landing here. I had one guy comment on one of my about him doing the trick. The trick worked great, but after 200 miles he threw a rod bearing. And he asked me if I thought it was related. Well, I told him, I don't know if he's responded yet or if he's watching, but I told him that it's very likely that he got a bunch of debris in the motor. So right here, a bunch of sand and dirt collects. I'm just going to take a little pinch of it here. I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but all that sand and dirt. So when I pulled this off, before I even pulled it off, I took a vacuum cleaner, ran it in here, then took a screwdriver, ran it around the edge, and then vacuum cleaned all this area to try and get as much of that out as possible. Because the moment you pull this cover off, that stuff tends to fall in or stick to the side of the cover, and then as you're lifting the cover away, it'll fall in as well. So you got to be sure to be as clean as possible when you're doing this. I mentioned inspecting the cam lobe, so I'm going to do that really quick before I even clean. Ooh, barely see what I want to see. There we go, now I see it. And I'm going to sit here and turn the motor over and watch for any kind of wear. Now this does not apply if you have a cylinder 4 or cylinder 6 failure, because those are in the center of this valley and you cannot see the lobes. But on either 1 or 7, those ones you can inspect just like I'm doing now. Oh, my mirror moved. Of when they flex like that. Alright, I'm just now coming to the high spot of the lobe, and of course the light turned on me. I have not seen any damage thus far. Alright, now I'm at the top of the lobe, and I should be able to see if there's any kind of damage whatsoever. I'll know. Trying to change my light angle, making sure that I get all the lighting I can. Looks good. Looks nice and clean. Well, where the roller rolls. Where the roller got all this sludge and dirt buildup going on. But it looks good otherwise. So, I would say this motor is going to be good to go for many, many miles to come. As long as there's no random other lobe that happens to fail. Alright. So, first step here, aside from all the vacuuming I've already done, is I'm going to take my cleanish rag and wipe these center pillars off. And I kind of go to a little bit of a newer area of the rag every time, just in hopes that it sticks any dirt to it from the oil that goes on the rag. Cleanliness is huge when it comes to motors. One little piece of sand can do a lot of damage in a motor. So now I'm going to a completely fresh spot of the rag, and then when it's full and I can't roll it no more, I'm going to keep it over that area, see all that dirt, and now I'm going to go to another fresh spot of the rag, and this rag's pretty much used up after this. And then I'm going to grab a new rag and do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm making sure I'm rolling it towards that direction. That way none of this dirt lands in that valley area, because that's the last thing I need. Okay, now I just let a bunch of dirt go down there. Almost lost some into the valley. There we go. Look at all that. It's disgusting. Alright. I see I'm back on here. I don't know if it's working. Let me know, but a little bit strange. Alright, so my battery died. Alright, I see a couple of you are back already, which is impressive. Yeah, my battery died on the phone, so I have it plugged into a charger now. Technical difficulties, in other words. Funny how that works. We can all have technical difficulties. I must not have lost you that long ago, I don't know, but I have no idea when I lost you. I just know that I lost you, and you'll have to inform me of when, I guess. Let's see here if I can, when I lost you, bring it back. All right. So we got another comment that was not there earlier, so I'm going to look at that. Oh, well, thank you, Aaron. And the name is not readable for my language. Let's see what you have to say. What year is your vehicle? Let me know what year your vehicle is, and I will look at your answering your question, and then I'm going to go no questions after that one until I am done again doing a little bit of work. So, I don't know if you guys saw what I was doing for cleaning the gasket, but I was prepping this surface here first so I can get the blom into place, and then I can go ahead and start cleaning this intake gasket. I'll show you how to do that without getting a bunch of dirt and debris in there as well. So I'm going to go grab the vacuum quick, vacuum this, and then hopefully that guy has answered to what vehicle he has, what year it is, and we'll go ahead and answer his question, and I'll keep working. Excuse the excessive vacuum noise, but you got to have a nice loud shop vac, you know. Alright, where am I? Yes, hit that like button, exactly. Thank you, sir. Alright, he did not answer the vehicle yet, so I will continue on and maybe get back to that in a second. Alright, so let's go ahead and throw this down back into place. Well, figuratively speaking. Glad to see you're on again, Mick the Shiznit. I appreciate your viewership. Now, this blonde plate, this is something that will throw people off when they do this for the first time. You see this little black thing that's on here? I don't know how well you can see that, but this little black deal is like a centering sleeve. It's a kind of a rubbery deal. Make sure you pay attention to what holes do or don't still have that in here. If you look in here, some of these bolts do not have that sleeve on them, so you have to make sure you put those in the holes that still have the sleeve in the hole. Oh, that one. Put one in the wrong hole already. Even with about it, you can still miss it. Alright, I'm pre-starting them with my finger just to be sure the threads are started before I go doing the impact gun thing. Starting in the center. Real light. I'm going to work my way out. Alright, I gotta go blow my brains out quick. Like I said, I'm a little under the weather. Okay, that feels better. Now we gotta torque this guy down. Now I believe the correct torque is 16 pounds, and these things tend to come loose, so I go to 18 on these. Otherwise, it's just too loose. If it's got the iron block, you can do as much as 20. The threads will take it, but you kind of got a feel there. It's pretty sketchy at 20. The bolts are not very strong on these things. And same procedure. Start in the middle, working your way to the end. Just like when you do a cylinder head. Now that I've hit them all, I'm going to just go ahead and hit them again to make sure, because when that gasket sets down, they usually open up a little bit. Yeah, you can see that there. Yeah, the end ones usually don't do it. It's usually just the center ones, because that's where you started torquing it down. Alright, now we need to clean this surface and prepare it for putting the intake back on using the super scraper. Leave me a comment quick. Did you guys miss the whole cleaning that gasket surface for the Vlam or not? I'm not sure when the battery died out on this thing, so just let me know. Because once I get to the other side, I'll go ahead and cover what I might have missed there otherwise. So with these intakes, you always want to start in the middle of the top and go away from the center of this hole. That'll keep it from falling in. Now the little tap that I'm doing on this valley cover, I'm knocking any dirt off that might be stuck on here. That way I can try and prevent it from falling into the hole. And then I'm taking my finger here, and I'm just rubbing away from the hole to take care of any dirt that might have got caught on the edge of that. So that's step one. Just making sure you wipe it clean there. Now step two, I'm running down from here, and when I do that, I'm taking the super scraper. I'm kind of giving you a glimpse. Of course, I'm dragging it like this, but I'm going to show you this way. And I start like this, and I work my way like that as I'm going down, just not quite as aggressive. Obviously, for visual purposes, I'm just showing you this way. So I'm going from the center out, and that's so that as the dirt builds up on the blade, it always goes towards this direction and doesn't land in the hole. Okay, so now the final stand, push it, and And then that bolt right here becomes a little bit of a problem, but you just go around it because you really don't need to worry about that spot. Okay, there we have it. This side is now prepped, and the last thing I'm going to do is just go like this, just in case anything did fall in. It's just going to be right there on the edge. And I'm knocking it down into this little crevice here, which I'm going to vacuum out once I do the other side. Alright, I'm going to kick the vacuum on real quick. Alright, I see Aaron Keith was asking about the oil consumption thing, and it was quite a long explanation. I would definitely go back on the video if you can and just watch it then. I don't want to spend the time explaining the same thing, so. Alright, now I'm going to plug in the oil sensor, but I'm going to leave the VLOM unplugged. But, leaving the VLOM unplugged, for the sake of future, if for some unforsaken reason somebody decided they wanted to save and start doing the displacement on demand again, no idea why anybody would even consider doing that, but I'm going to go ahead and booger the end of this connector with a little dielectric grease. This will keep it from corroding from whatever moisture might get on it. And then I'm just going to kind of set it in the hole, halfways. Not going to actually plug it in though, because I will be disabling that on the computer yet. Which hopefully, if you guys have nothing more exciting to do, you'll be able to watch me go ahead and program it too. I believe I still have 2 credits to be able to do this one, but I am going to have to buy some more credits from HP to do the next one I have coming in. Now this guy's motor, I'm going to try and reuse the gaskets first here. And that's simply because I want to make sure that this fixes the thing before I go buying a bunch of parts on them. There it is. Now these bolts, almost every single one of these, this is the only time you're going to get torque specs from me, I believe, is when I'm live like this. I think I'll be willing to give up some of them then, but make sure you check for your own vehicle before you take my word for it. But these, I think all of them, every one that I've done so far, is 22 foot-pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and torque this down. And then before I put the valve cover in place, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over one more time. Oh, well, there it goes. That was the one that was collapsed. So it's definitely working again. I'm going to get in the, there we go, uncollapsed mode. Or unpressured mode. Okay, so let's go ahead and throw a valve cover back on, but it's filthy. And I'm going to clean it quick. If you guys have something to do, I can't move the phone since it's on the charger. I'm going to go ahead and just clean this thing off really quick, run over to my parts washer. I'm not going to clean it spotless because I'm going to be doing a engine clean to clean out, all this nasty, nasty sludge. I might as well show you guys this quick. Where'd that screwdriver go I had before? I had an orange handled screwdriver here. This is that tool search. It's just constant. It never ends. It's like the world plays a joke on me, or maybe I'm playing a joke on myself. I don't know. Brought it over to the other side of the shop. I don't know. Anyway, here's the sludge that builds up, especially on this side of the motor. So let's see if I can get you to see that decent. But there's the build up there, and it's down in this corner. Now these valve covers, there's a TSB oil consumption on some of these motors, so I will mention that part. So I mentioned the previous oil consumption thing for another guy, but Aaron was asking about oil consumption as well, so I might as well cover this part too. There's a TSB for an updated valve cover, and it's because when these rockers are going like this, they're splashing oil everywhere, and I guess they didn't do a very good job with this baffling right here. And what happens is your intake sucking through this port will end up sucking a bunch of oil through this port. And when it does that, obviously you're going to end up burning a bunch of oil. This says Mexico right in the valve cover here. That's funny. But you're going to end up burning oil because of this. The TSB, one of them I believe there's something about adding some kind of baffle, and the other one is just a replacement valve cover that has been updated already, and it takes care of the issue. So I'm going to go quick scrub the outside of this thing, and then we're going to use ATF to clean the inside of it. Alright, so like I said, I did not really clean that very well. I just cleaned the outside here. I'm going to go ahead and set this into place. The gasket is still attached to the head, and it's in its good position, so it will work fine yet. As long as there it goes. Nice. It's got a little bit of squish left in it, so we should be good for reusing the old, probably junky, but we'll use it for now, gasket. It's easy to change anyway later. Like I said, I just want to be sure that we don't have a problem. Now, where did that go? Thank you, Vash1877 for that comment. Clearing that up for him. I'm missing a socket here. I don't know what I do with it. And the tool search begins again. We are going to be searching for tools for the rest of the day today. It's just one of those days, I guess. Man. I did drop something under the vehicle earlier. I wonder if that was it. Oh no, that was that bolt for the ignition coils. Ability to fix vehicles, level 10. Ability to find the tools I'm fixing the vehicle with, level 1. Oh, and there I go losing another tool. Jeez. I just can't win for the life of me here. This is the kind of stuff you guys get to miss in the full edited versions. Is the daily search for tools. Oh yeah. Get that lifter out of there. I'm going to go ahead and, I know I'm going to find it. I know I didn't put it in the motor, so I'm going to go ahead and throw this on with a different socket for now. I know I'll find it before I start it, so the heck with it. It's just going to bother me. I'm going to be looking around all over the place while I'm working now until I find it. Now you notice I didn't use a torque wrench on those, and what I'm doing is I'm just tightening them down until they stop, and then just go a little bit more past that, because there's a bottom out shoulder that they bottom out on. I'm looking for that damn tool. It's driving me nuts. I know it's in here. Well, whatever. Let's continue. I'm going to go ahead and grab the intake here. Where did I put that at? There it is. We're going to do that modify quick on the plates. Alright, so you see this oil here. That's usually from the valve cover. That's that update I was talking about. And you're going to look at this towel in a minute and be like, holy crap. But there's a little red tab here. You can push in on this brake booster hose, push that tab, and then pull out on the hose, and it's a quick connect. So that comes off. Then we're going to go ahead and take this bolt out, but watch this. See all that oil? That's from that valve cover. Getting oil sucked into it. Aha! There's the screwdriver I lost earlier. My other tool isn't there though, fortunately. Come on now. There we go. Alright, 10 millimeter. Ooh, it pulled it out of the intake this time. Usually it doesn't do that. So the actual stud came out of the intake on this one. Alright, now we can go ahead Plug this guy back in. Not a problem. Got oil everywhere there. And I'm going to inspect the gasket for its wear condition currently and remove this guy. Now there's two of these under here. I always remove them. They tend to become mouse nests later on if you live in a climate with mice or in an area with mice. This might actually be a relatively new gasket. And I'm spilling gasoline everywhere here. Making a huge gasoline mess. Okay. Now I'm rubbing this gasket on, pushing any dirt away from the center of that hole. But it is definitely in pretty decent shape. It's a little bit wobbly and moved all over, but it's definitely raised above the plastic thickness. So I know that it's going to be able to seal still. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep that in there for now. Here is all that oil. We're going to use this gasoline to clean up that oil. There we go. Oh, I got oil all over the damn coil too. That oil just gets everywhere when it gets on things. All right. So I'm not going to spend a bunch of time cleaning this throttle or the intake out, all that oil out, because it's just going to happen again. And plus, I've already drained out a significant amount, so it's going to be clean enough for a while. But if you want to clean it, feel free. More power to you. It's just not something that's not going to do the customer any good, except for when it comes to finishing the job. I am going to take this thing to a car wash and detail the engine bay. Whenever somebody spends a reasonable amount of money with me, I usually detail the engine bay. So, and by reasonable I mean like 400 or more, I guess. Really doesn't take much. But new customers, I'm more apt to clean it out for them with less money spent. There we go. That wire was wrapped around this before, so that's why I'm doing that. Okay, grab the bolts. Alright, now these bolts they're just like the valve cover bolts with the shoulder. You can see it's kind of moving back and forth in there. This edge right here is mushroomed in. I'm going to use this hole because you guys can see it. But if you take these bolts, you pull them back, so you don't want the thread sticking out. You pull them back, and you take that mushroomed in, and you tilt it into the hole like that, and you can drop them into place. And the same goes for pulling them out. You tilt them, and they can come out. Otherwise, they stay in there if you try and pull straight. So, just a little note. That's how I'm taking these out and in. Trying to find the one for this one. A little bit difficult. There it is. These bolts are going to end up getting tightened just the same as the valve cover as far as how I tighten them down. The technical torque is going to most likely be 89 foot-pounds per your vehicle, but I advise you torque them unless you are very, very familiar with the motor you're working on and doing it. Okay, I lost the bolt somewhere. Aha, there it is. Must have rolled away from the bunch of them. Now the last one in this back corner, there's a little piece of tin. It's like a grounding strap. And you have to lift that up in order to put the bolt down into place. Now is when I really want that socket that I lost track of. I'm going to take one more look around here. It's nowhere to be found. Just nowhere. I have to have it somewhere stupid. Somewhere really simple. Alright, I'm going to throw some tools and put them away quick. The ones that I don't need anymore. Oh wait, I still need that one. Alright, here is the clean screen for one of those oil filter screens. This is what a clean one looks like. This is one I pulled out a while ago on a motor that was actually clean yet. Yeah, I'm not going to find it, am I? Alright. Like I said, I know it's not in the motor. So I didn't drop anything in the motor. I pay attention to that. We're just going to go ahead and continue here. It could very well be in the belt system. That's possible. But I doubt it. Because I don't remember dropping anything. I just set it somewhere really stupid. I had to have. So I'm going to start with just lightly snugging them down. Maybe. That's why I need that socket. Can't get at the bolts I want. How do you convert the dual fuel line to single? I figure I might as well answer a question on the fly here. Well, you must have the older vehicle then, but the dual system is a return system, and I feel that is a better system because it cools the fuel actively by running it through the fuel rail. So it keeps the fuel cooler, which is going to atomize better as it, or cool the charge better going into the system. So if I were you, I would keep that. But if you did want to convert it for some reason, you'd have to get the newer in-tank regulator system, whatever's in the gas tank of these things, because it's regulated inside the gas tank. And then you can do the single line fuel rail like this. Since I don't have much to talk about at this point doing the video, if you guys do have questions, go ahead and ask them, and as I look at the screen every so often, I'll just answer them while I work. It'll give me something to talk about, make it maybe a little bit less boring at least. Watching a guy turn a wrench isn't exactly the most exciting thing in the world. May as well be golf. No, golf is still more boring to me. There we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and plug the fuel injectors in on this side. You can't see that, but that's what I'm doing. guy goes the PCV. The newer ones have a quick connect style fitting on the valve cover here. I believe those are more the ones prone to the valve cover problem. I don't know if it was this one or if it was 2009 and newer. But obviously this one still gets some oil in the intake. Little side note for you guys. I don't know how many of you actually remember seeing this posted, but you see that little temp thing right there? That's for my makeshift solar heater I have going, and it's actually been working for the last like 2 hours pretty much since I've gone live, and 104 degrees pumping out of it, so that's not too bad. Well, at least that's not what's pumping out, that's what's inside the box. It's probably pumping out, you know, 60, I don't know, 65 to 75 depending on what it is in here. Right in here it's only 57, so it's probably only pumping out 63 or 64 right now out of the separate blower I have over there. I am currently looking for my other wrench, so there we go again, losing more. Oh, I found it. But I still haven't found that socket. Here are those spline drive ratchet wrenches. I've talked about them a time or two. They're one of my favorite little ratchet wrenches I have that I own. Okay. What state are you in? I am in the rusty state of Maine. I am in the rusty state of Minnesota. So, welcome to the Rust Belt, sir. Yeah, we use a lot of salt here. It's crazy. I wish they just used sand. How low is too low for oil pressure on an L76? Well, I'm not going to claim to know exactly which one the L76 is. But if it has the displacement on demand, 40 psi seems to be kind of the typical blow off for that valve that's in there at cold start, and then at idle while it's cold, and then as soon as it warms up, they tend to run around 35-ish, give or take. And then of course RPM brings that up from there. So that's kind of the typical oil pressure. That's running 530 in most engines. Of course, there's a lot of different variables that come into play for oil pressure. So. Gotta clean the oil that I spilled off of this thing, and now I gotta look for my brake clean. I'm just gonna grab a new can. I'm so sick of looking for things. It's just one of those days. Just one of those days that I gotta look for tools all damn day long. Oh, we're getting close. So pretty soon you guys will be able to see me fire this thing up. But of course I gotta throw the tune in here first. If I could ever get this thing to line up. Come on, there it is. There's like these little things that line up in the holes on the valve cover. It's actually kind of nice. Now one of these bolts is under the vehicle, so I'm going to have to go and grab that quick. Gotta use a magnet to reach it though. I don't know if you guys know about these, but these are a flexible magnet. These things are super awesome, super handy. Does Lucas raise the oil pressure or lower the oil pressure, or does it matter? Lucas, the stabilizer, will technically raise the oil pressure. It's a lot thicker. Once it mixes with the oil and gets hot, it should not raise it much, assuming you have not used that much in there. But the Lucas, its claim is that it adheres to the metal better. Thus, it's going to do a better job of cooling, at least in theory. Here we go, running circles, looking for stuff again. What did I do with that now? Here it is. Now when you connect these coils here, don't waste your time with these plugs. Just do this big master plug here. It saves you a lot of farting around. Now don't forget this little guy. This is for the fuel line there, and it's like a safety clip to keep it from popping off by accident. Say the fuel line quick connect part were to wear out or something. Just put it back in there. It doesn't take much effort, and it's worth the little safety measure. I'd hate to have fuel spill all over a bunch of hot exhaust manifolds. Gotta do the little alternator trick again. I did not tap those yet. Now I lost my brass hammer. Oh, this is ridiculous. Maybe I put it away. Let's see, did I put something away? Oh, I put something away. I didn't put my other socket away, did I? Somewhere weird? I don't know. Alright, this is a little trick I've showed before. I'm sure many of you have seen it. There it goes. So which one of you who are watching just waiting for me to hurt myself or do something stupid and funny on camera? Because I know if I was watching, I'd be waiting for that. That's for darn sure. This is one of those jobs I'm like a zombie where I just kind of in autopilot mode, I just go. I just kind of know what to do and I do it. So these tend to be the jobs that a lot of times that'll happen where I'll just smack my finger with something or something silly will happen, catch my hand in the belt, who knows. Not get that. Come on, there we go. Alright, one of these is. There it is. It's that one. I knew something was. It wasn't going. Now there's an easier way to do the belt if you leave this one off instead of putting it on the alternator. It makes it a little bit easier. Okay, there's that. Boy, this guy must spill oil filling it a lot. A lot of oil residue there. I am missing a hose here. What did I do with it? Ah, it's on there yet. I want my socket again. Oh well. Sorry about that, bumping the thing. That's not right. Gotta line up those. There we go. There's like little line-up things in these clamps. That one didn't stay aligned. Alright, I'm not going to put the cover on yet. Simply because I'm going to be cleaning this engine bay out a little bit at the car wash. Assuming it's open. It might be too cold. But we are going to go ahead and tune this thing now. Turn the displacement on demand off. So let's see here. I don't know how good my battery is, so I don't want to disconnect that charger. That's one thing. I can't see my battery condition on the phone unless I scroll it. Okay, I gotta go grab the stuff. I don't know where I normally have something to wash my hands with a little bit better than brake clean, but it's a mechanic's life, I guess. Gotta at least have my hands somewhat clean. I don't have any plumbing out here in this garage, so. Alright, I'm gonna unplug you and move you a little closer. That's going to be a tight squeeze. I'm going to do it with the door shut. Now the new HP tuner dongle is like a little Bluetooth device or Wi-Fi device. It's a lot smaller than this, and it's wired, wireless. You have a wire that you can connect to it, but I believe that's what you would do for tuning it more so. But it works with your phone, so you can get like track data and stuff. If you were into the performance part of things. I'm just hooking up the battery charger now, so bear with me. Alright, looks like you guys are still alive. So we're going to fire up this laptop here. You probably won't be able to see the screen. I'll see what I can do to make it work, but most likely it'll be too bright. We're going to try, though. Oh, no. Really? If this thing's off, that might mean my battery died, which means it might be unplugged. I don't know, I'll have to look at that. Hopefully the battery's not dead. Oh. Oh, okay. I thought it died on me. Come on. This is an old tough book, so it's pretty slow. Takes a little bit to boot up. Yeah, I mean, sure, it's got a solid state drive, but it is not fast by any means. Alright, old technology. I'll fire you up, and looks like we have a full battery, so I don't know why it shut down, but we're going to go ahead and get started on this. See if I can, there, stay. Get you guys a little closer in on the action here. Oh, maybe. I can maybe do this. See if I can tip you over a little bit. Here we go. Look at that. You guys can actually see what's going on, maybe. As long as the white isn't too bright when it fires up. Okay, so we're going to go to VCM editor. Wait for this slow process to begin. There's going to be a lot of downtime. Be sure to ask me questions if you have any questions, because there is going to be some very, very slow goings here. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is read this thing. So we can see that it's not allowing us to do that right now. I believe that's just because the key is off, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the key on. I'm going to turn the headlights off because my charger is not going to be powerful enough to charge headlights, or run headlights the whole time. Okay, come on. See if we're lit up or not. Busy, error, power. Oh boy. Come on. Oh. I'm gonna plug it back in once. See if that helps. You might not see the data protocol since I had it plugged in when I booted it up. Let's see. There, now it sees something. Request failed. Resolution failure. What? Oh, now what? Yippee. Alright, I'm gonna close it out. I'm gonna unplug the device. I'll plug it into a different USB port if I can find one on this darn thing. There we go. It's not my normal one, but we're gonna try it. Reboot the VCM editor. Oh, there, now we got everything normal popped up. You can see I'm in the right category right now. But I still do not believe I'm connected. Okay, let's get a new. That's cool. Oh, let's close that. Aha, there we go. So I was in an old vehicle yet. I guess I never realized that was an issue. I must have always closed out and didn't even realize it. Alright, so we're going to hit read vehicle here. That's how much I know about HP tuners. I am fairly new. I know enough to do this, and that's it. Okay, the vehicle is doing its little thing. So now that we're waiting, I'm going to go see if you guys have any questions. Gotta keep this thing away from that lock switch because it might actually. I do not want that to fall. Oh, did I answer your question about the tuning? I believe I did, but it may or may not have been when it crashed. I am no tuner, but HP Tuners has the better tuning. As far as the displacement on demand side of things, I know how to use HP Tuners and do it that way, so that's what I use. The other brands, like you mentioned, I forget what they were. I have not used them, so I'm not sure if they work like the range device does, where it just tells the computer not to turn it on, or if it actually disables it like the HP system does. So you'll have to do your homework on that. I am not 100% on how those systems work. If they do it like the HP does, where it actually disables it inside the computer, like I'm about to do, then definitely, why not? Why not use them? If they're cheaper and more effective to use, then go for it. This is definitely a more knowledge tuner friendly software system where you can actually do full on crazy amounts of tuning with the thing, but it's overkill for displacement on demand is what I'm saying. But I don't know, it works, and it's what I have, so it's what I use. And you see, we're going to have several of these really long waiting screens like this. You hear this guy's blower going crazy. I'm going to shut that down. No reason to run that blower. That's just a waste of power. Waste of my charger. Oh, headlights are back on, so I'm going to turn those off. I was going to try the next controller. So that was just the first controller. Ooh, I should have just read this one. I wanted to try something to see if I can do just the ECM and not mess with the transmission, because if I can do that, then I can save purchasing credits. There should be a way to do it, so I'm going to give it a try here. Okay, lights are back on. We're gonna give this guy a file. Just do this off to the side. Gonna go grab the guy's name and throw it in here. Okay, so now we are in, and we have to disable this. Normally, when you first open it, it's not going to do this window. This is just because this is all I ever do on it, so this is the way it opens. But you have to go under Engine right here, then Fuel. We're going to do this. We're going to click out of this, just so that we have to start from scratch. We're going to click Trans. Okay, so you're going to have to click Engine. Go over to Fuel, then go over to Lean Fuel Save. Then under this, Displacement on Demand, you have to go Disable. Now this turned pink, and so I know that that's going to be a right. Now I hit Right to Vehicle, which is going to ask for credits. You do not have a license for this file. Show license options. Specific GM2. So it is not. Okay. I almost want to reread this thing, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it with the 2. Next time I'm going to try and not read the transmission, just read the engine and see if I can do 1. For now I'm just going to do the 2. Cannot be undone. It's letting you know. Go ahead, yes. Now we're going to do, we have no reason to write calibration to the transmission. Do not write. Now we're going to write. So we're just going to write to the engine. That must be what you have to do. You have to make sure you do not look into the transmission when you first log in, and then you can get by with doing a single credit. That's got to be the way that it's done. Alright, headlights are back on. We'll shut that off. Right, complete. Let's hit close. Now, I am theoretically done with that. So I'm going to turn the key off. Pull the key out just because of habit. I don't know. I don't think it's necessary. But we are going to move you guys over to the engine bay area. pull this charger out of here, and we're going to have a moment of truth. Moment of truth alive. How do you guys like that? I still got to tighten the nut down. I almost forgot to. But that's one thing that I have to do before the moment of truth, is check everything. Couple little rinky-dink things I got going here that I'm having to just quick touch, but otherwise it's looking pretty good. So I can never get this connector. Oh, there we go. Spun around. That. The belt is in place. Everything looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot. Let's hope that that lifter does not collapse. Sounds pretty dang quiet to me, but I have had them collapse a little after I started moving them, like pulling them out of the shop. So I'm going to go ahead and give the throttle a little bit of a hit. Yeah, it's pretty darn quiet. Let's go ahead and give the throttle a little whack. I got to open the garage door first. Speaking of which, I need a coat. It's cold out. The oil pressure is close to 50 on this thing right now. I can't believe what I just did though. Getting out of the vehicle, I think it's my pocket. No, it's not my, what the heck? Oh, my pocket's got 2 layers to it. Oh, it's a pocket like that. Yeah, I ripped the pocket wide open. I'll have to show you guys some comedy here, but I just ripped my pocket wide open. All right. Let's see. Looking good. Sounding good. So we have a successful hammer trick glom done live. Can't really beat that. I'm going to go ahead and log you guys off in a minute here because I have to inflate the tires. You see how the tire is flat? I do that so it's easier to work on. So a little trick for you guys for staying and watching until the end here. This tire is just completely flat right now. So I'm going to inflate both front tires. Then I'm going to go on a test drive. This guy should be good to go. Everything should be hunky-dory. I'm going to have to do some transmission fluid in this thing to get the flush going too. I got to call him and ask him if I can do that because this motor was pretty filthy. So with that, be sure to hit that like button, like, share, subscribe. I appreciate everything you guys give me for commentary, so leave a comment. And yeah, this one went pretty well, went pretty smooth aside from me losing track of my damn socket. I still got to find that socket. Hopefully I'll find it here as I'm cleaning everything up. I got to do some cleaning anyway, so thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on another live stream. Let me know how much you like these live streams.